Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a young man in the video comments earlier ask me for some advice on him being an aspiring bodybuilder. He was currently a high school football player, and I have some frank advice for young men who see themselves as aspiring bodybuilders who want to get seriously involved in bodybuilding at a serious level. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And this video is actually going to be very much a warning. I'm not going to have much nice to say about bodybuilding, but people need to understand I'm not talking about guys who work out to look better. That's not bodybuilding any more than someone who says I train to get a little stronger as a power lifter or a strongman. Bodybuilding's a competitive endeavor. It's a subculture. It's an entire lifestyle. There's a lifestyle and a subculture built around it. And in my opinion, and you know what, I've seen former pro bodybuilders have said in anonymous interviews and stuff, and other people who've seen this stuff, and examples I'm going to give you off YouTube of actual bodybuilders talking about some of this stuff. I want people to understand that getting involved in the bodybuilding culture, lifestyle, and way of life is one of the worst things you could do to yourself physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It is an absolute horrific thing, and I want people to understand why. That it actually has almost no positive redeeming qualities when you weigh out all the negatives that go with it. And it's not just about the minor things about dieting down too lean. All the health experts know this, that dieting down as lean as bodybuilders do will kill you eventually. It's bad for your health. It'll harm you. That's not necessarily the biggest issue here. It is all the other stuff that is associated with the entire bodybuilding world. And you know, the supplement industry makes a fortune off of these bodybuilders. The whole industry makes a fortune off of it, and they glamorize it in a way that has nothing to do with what really goes on there. They kind of just whitewash the whole thing over and pretend like it's some big alpha male macho thing or something that these guys are doing. What they don't talk about is all the partying, the street drugs, the gay prostitution, everything else that is a massive part of the entire lifestyle. And when I say that, I mean this is stuff that Boston Lloyd's talked about. All of the gay for pay stuff. This is what what's his name, Matt Ogus, who I've met Matt Ogus in person actually. There's photos of him and I hanging out together from a few years back. So I mean, I've met him at least. Didn't get to talk to him very much. Ended up chatting with his buddy Lovato a lot more than him. But the thing is, the whole bodybuilding world revolves around gay for pay and prostitution. I don't just mean that it's a little part of it, it's a fringe thing. No, it is very much a part of the entire bodybuilding scene. It is probably the backbone of it. And that's what these guys don't want to talk to you about. And in fact, even one pro bodybuilder over a decade ago got published in some magazines and books and everything for giving an anonymous interview where he talked about that. He talked about the fact that to really make it in bodybuilding, if you're not independently wealthy, you pretty much have to sacrifice your manhood. You've got to sell your body to other men. That's just part of the game. All right, so young men who are thinking about getting into this, you need to understand what lifestyle it is that you are getting into. And here's the reason a lot of that happens. And we're going to get into the other parts of it in a minute too, because that's just the tip of the iceberg. But you need to think about it this way. You need to think about how expensive this lifestyle is, the way people get thrown into it, and the fact that there's no money in it. Now, people say, well, so-and-so makes money. Less than 1% of people who are involved in the hardcore bodybuilding lifestyle can actually make a living from bodybuilding. And I don't mean good money, I mean make a living. Most pro bodybuilders don't make enough money from bodybuilding to survive on. All right? I don't even mean to bodybuild on. I'm talking about to pay their house note, pay a car note, pay for groceries. All right? That's survival, basic survival, being able to afford your electric bill. They don't make that type of money. Now, when you factor in the expensiveness of all the drugs and everything, and yes, even a lot of natural pro bodybuilders use a lot of drugs. People have this idea that they don't. That's not the real world. They just use less drugs than the untested guys. But some of the stuff they use so that they can get through testing a lot easier ends up being a little more expensive. They have a pretty hefty drug bill. You're going to get involved in bodybuilding, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to cover all of that. Well, here's the thing. People who get into the lifestyle who don't end up having some of these problems are the people who went and got really lucrative careers before they went into bodybuilding. People who decided to jump into bodybuilding in their 30s There's plenty of those guys. There have been a few of those guys who have well into six-figure salaries, worth $1 million or more dollars. Those guys get involved in bodybuilding and they get to skip out of this stuff because it's their dream. I would tell anybody, if you want to get involved in that world, just lift weights. And we'll work on your career and your life outside of bodybuilding so that you can finance yourself. Otherwise, how do you think you're going to afford this lifestyle? All these young guys get involved in this, just like Matt Ogus got involved. He had no clue. He had to do G for P even to be a natty bodybuilder trying to go pro, because he was trying to work with no skills. He was 18 years old, had no skills, worked a minimum wage job. Bodybuilding and paying your bills is expensive. And he was saying that even with no drugs involved at that point, there's no drugs for him, just the amount of food, supplementation, the training, any coaching he needed, in addition to having to pay rent. To survive, he couldn't afford the bodybuilding lifestyle, but he found because he was in shape, he ended up doing just the cam stuff, the cam shows for other men so that he could support the lifestyle. And he did that before he made it big on YouTube. Plenty of other guys, anyone who gets involved in the drug end of it, they can't afford it. When you're 18 years old, 19 years old, do you really think you have any ability to make money? And even if you have some skills or ability to make money, how are you going to do it when your whole life revolves around bodybuilding and your feeding schedule and training schedule and your cardio? You start finding real quick that this stuff eats up a lot of hours of your day. It also eats up a lot of hours of your focus. How many of you guys think that you're going to be able to hold down any sort of serious job when dieting down to get really lean? A lot of people can't even hold a job while doing that, a regular job. And here's the thing, I've known prospective young bodybuilders who get into the game, they have no skills, most of them they just go work at a gym. So if they've got a job there, they pick up personal training, and usually they sell drugs. That's been with the only ones I have met who've gotten out of the prostitution thing who haven't done it. Every single one of them were drug dealers. And I've known several. And I don't just mean they sold steroids, okay? They didn't just sell steroids. You think you're going to make enough money selling steroids to support a bodybuilding lifestyle trying to get through the NPC? Probably not. You might. No, they sell drugs, all kinds of drugs. And I've met at least 3 who did this in the course of my life. And that was the only way they could afford their lifestyle without doing the gay for pay thing, without selling their bodies to other men. A big chunk end up selling their bodies to other men. And you know what? The industry's ripe with it. You get involved in this, you're going to start being asked pretty regularly. You go hang out in bodybuilding circles, bodybuilding scenes, there are always men who hang around those who are interested in that. You know what? They just assume because you're a bodybuilder that your butt is for sale. They just assume so they're going to approach you accordingly. If you get involved in this lifestyle and scene, you better be ready to deal with that. You better be ready for other men to proposition you. If you're not ready to deal with that, I suggest you go find something else, because guess what? There's nothing manly or masculine about competing in an endeavor that's all about how pretty your body is, to where you shave your whole body down, put on fake tan oil, get in a little thong, and pose and flex and prance around on a stage. I want you to think about that. What do you think that actually attracts? You really think the audience is mostly female? Yeah, there's a few fangirls. Come on. What do you think that attracts? That entire community of bodybuilding attracts enormous numbers of men who are attracted to it. You're going to be hit on by men all the time if you become a bodybuilder. All the time. You better not be homophobic, because you're not going to last. This lifestyle is not going to work for you. You better be open to having other men hit on you over and over and over and over all the time. And I don't just mean out at events, I mean in the locker room in the gym. That is what bodybuilding is about. It is actually a big gay prostitution ring. Then you got the other end of it. How come so many bodybuilders have all these issues with street drugs? Because it's a party scene too. And you know those things tend to go hand in hand. Anything that involves prostitution usually involves large amounts of illicit drugs. Jerry Ward is a former heroin addict. He's talked about it in details in his videos. He's been addicted to Nubane also, which is a sheep narcotic. Why? Because all the other bodybuilders were using it. All of the bodybuilders were using it. Everyone he knew was using it, so he got hooked on it. And he says, why? because they all want to party, they all want to have a good time, and alcohol has too many empty calories. So they all want to party because there is a big party scene around the whole culture. You think bodybuilding is about health and fitness? Anyone who diets down to 6% body fat doesn't give a single fuck about their health. All right, you don't give a single fuck about your health when you diet down that lean. You're a male anorexic with muscle. All right, you're an anorexic. And then they use all sorts of other drugs to boot, so what's a few more? What you're going to find, you get involved in this scene, it's drugs, 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 drugs. Gay prostitution, drugs, drugs. Bodybuilders trade sexual favors for drugs. Sometimes it's their bodybuilding drugs or growth hormones, sometimes it's cocaine, sometimes it's heroin. That is just part of the lifestyle. And you get involved in this subculture, they all party. All these guys who you think of as all these awesome bodybuilders, you don't think they sell their bodies? You don't think that they all use party drugs? You don't think any of them have ever sucked dick for cocaine? You haven't been around that scene. And so what I would tell people, look at what other people are saying. Don't just listen to me. Go put together the different pieces, different people out there telling you. Go look for the interviews by pro bodybuilders talking about this stuff. It's out there. Look at that. Look at what Boston Lloyd tells you. Look at what Jerry Ward tells you. The whole bodybuilding scene is all these trading sexual favors to other men for money, for drugs. It's about partying. It's about self-destruction. All right, there is nothing healthy about this lifestyle. This is not a lifestyle that if you care about your future, you're going to get involved in. Don't let this big glamorous bullshit that the supplement industry's put up about this scene tell you that it's really just this wholesome, healthy, fit thing. It's all about self-improvement. That you go get in bodybuilding, you're going to make a fortune, you're going to make all types of money, you're going to be loved, you're going to be famous, you're going to get girls. No, man. That's not how it goes. That only goes that way for a few of them. It is, however, an enormous party scene where you're going to be around drugs all the time. And I don't mean just bodybuilding drugs. And yeah, the bodybuilding drugs are going to be all around, even with the natural guys. It is a party scene. And there's going to be all sorts of narcotics. There's going to be all sorts of prostitution. You are going to be propositioned by other men over and over and over. And you know what? If you're young and you don't have any other skills or way to make money and the bodybuilding is consuming your life, there's a reason those propositions get thrown at you. Because they know that you're vulnerable. Because you know what? You're going to find that that lifestyle can get a hell of a lot more expensive real quick than you thought it was going to. But you know what? There's always some guy who's got a solution for you. He's willing to help you out. Willing to help you out a little bit. Just one thing he needs. So these young guys who want to get involved in this, you better step back and take a closer look at what this community is actually all about. And what that lifestyle and world is really like. Better take a closer look before you jump up and say, this is my dream, this is what I want to do. Because it may not really be what you think it's about. Just because some cover of some magazine or some supplement ads or some interview by a supplement company who, you know, they make money off these bodybuilders, tells you it's one thing, you might want to look a little closer, look a little deeper under the surface as to what's really going on. It's not going to be as wholesome and fun as you might think it is. Well, maybe it is. That might be what you're into. But I still wouldn't recommend that you do it. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative. And I will talk to you guys next time.